Well, it's June 23rd, and you know what that means. It's National Take Your Dog to Work Day. Oh, and Sonic's birthday, I guess. And for his 32nd anniversary, this year we got a Sonic Central, which hardly announced anything new, but I digress. And we also got the brand new DLC for Sonic Origins, Sonic Origins Plus. Sonic Origins Plus is both available as a brand new game and also as a DLC upgrade for the original Sonic Origins if you already own it. If you already own Sonic Origins, you can get the DLC for $10, otherwise, buying the full game will cost you a cool $40. I'm not here to talk about the base game, but if I were you, I would definitely advise waiting for a sale on the base game, since it's a bunch of classic Sonic remakes, and while I do enjoy them, $40 is just a bit too much for 30-year-old games. So, does Sonic Origins Plus make that deal any better? Or make it worth getting Sonic Origins if you don't already have it? Well, let's get into that. Sonic Origins Plus comes with a variety of new content such as a playable classic Amy, Knuckles being playable in Sonic CD, 12 ported Game Gear games, and the previously separate DLC Classic Music Pack and Premium Fun Pack. Seems like a decent deal for $10, but if you want my honest quick opinion before I really dive deep into this DLC, I think my sentiment towards it is the same as the base game. Wait for a sale if you really want Origins Plus, otherwise, you really aren't missing too much. The biggest selling points of this DLC are the 12 additional Game Gear games and a playable Amy Rose. One of those is pretty decent, and the other's implementation is downright terrible. Let's start with the good in this DLC, Amy Rose being added as a new character, and Knuckles finally being playable in Sonic CD. Amy Rose is easily the best part of this DLC, and her gameplay feels unique enough from the other characters to warrant being added. Amy comes with her own moveset, which is different from Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Her main gimmick is that pressing the jump button while you're in the air extends her hitbox by swinging a hammer, allowing her to hit enemies from further away and destroy them without getting hit. Amy isn't necessarily like playing on easy mode. I still think being able to fly with Tails is slightly easier, but she definitely is a bit easier to go through the games with than Sonic or Knuckles. Amy is playable with Tails in some games, similar to playing as Sonic and Tails, which is a nice bonus too. Amy's sprite work is also really well done. All of her sprites look fantastic, and the ones where she's swinging her hammer are especially well done. Overall, Amy is easily the best part of Sonic Origins Plus, and I think if you're a big fan of Amy Rose, then maybe purchasing Origins Plus on a sale is something that would be worth it. Amy is also playable in every main classic Sonic game within Origins, which means you aren't locked out of playing her in Sonic CD like you would have been with Knuckles on launch. Speaking of which, Knuckles is finally playable in Sonic CD. Something that absolutely should have been included with the base game, but at least it is here now. I actually can't get footage of Knuckles in Sonic CD though, because the game just crashes if I try and select him as a character, so definitely off to a great start there. Not really sure if it has something to do with any mods I installed or if it's just a genuine game issue, but I made sure I had no mods installed, so I'm guessing it's the latter. This same issue persists with Amy for every game except for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is why the only Amy footage I have for this video is of Sonic 3, but I at least was able to get some time to play as her. Amy of course comes with a super form, or I guess a super powered form as the trailer calls it, because I guess having anyone go super other than Sonic, Shadow, and Silver is just too complicated for the Sonic series. Not really sure why that's the case, it's something that Sega has just been really adamant on recently, but her super powered form at least still plays like a normal super form. In fact, her superpowered form looks very similar to Knuckles, as she flashes from her normal pink color to white, and back to pink, exactly like Super Knuckles does. I think a more interesting design could have been chosen for her superpowered form, but that's just a minor nitpick of mine which doesn't have any effect on the gameplay at all. One last good thing that's included is the other DLCs that were released back when Origins first launched. I'm including this as a good thing because now when you want to purchase the game, you only have two options instead of the incredibly confusing price chart that the game launched with. Seriously, that was just awful. Whoever made this, I can almost guarantee was trying to get people confused. I still think that these DLCs aren't anything crazy, they barely add anything, but at least now you get them included with Origins Plus, so it technically is something good about the DLC. Well, that's pretty much all the good, which means the other biggest selling point here isn't good, and I'll get into why that is now. Sonic Origins Plus includes 12 classic Sonic Game Gear games, and oh boy are these just terrible to play. Now I don't really want to rip on the games themselves too much, as I haven't ever played any of these original Game Gear games, with the exception of Mean Bean Machine and Sonic Spinball, but the way these games play in Sonic Origins Plus is very bad. Again, I can't say for certain whether this was an implementation issue, or if it's just the games themselves being bad. But either way, this should have been an area of the DLC that needed to be massively improved. The first very, very obvious issue of these games are the sound design. Now, I don't know if the person that was working on this just didn't have headphones on, or if they didn't bother to filter the sound coming out of the Game Gear, but these games sound so terrible, to the point where starting one up makes me want to turn my sound off. Here, have a listen to the startup of one of these games. Potential headphone warning, I'll try and keep the volume low so it doesn't cause too much of an issue. So yeah, now you can get an idea of how these games sound. And it's not just the startup of these games either. The entire time you are playing, it sounds like that, with weirdly echoey and extremely crunched, unfiltered audio coming through. This is where the most work needed to be done, because this makes most of these games almost unplayable with sound on, but even if you have your sound turned off, you won't have too much of a great time either. So this is the part where I'm not really sure if it's the game's fault or if it's just a bad porting job, but most of these Game Gear games lag really bad in certain sections, with it being a lot more noticeable on some games than others. Either way, this also should have been an issue that was fixed. If these games lagged to begin with, then don't resell them without fixing them. There's no way these 20-plus-year-old games can't run on modern hardware. And I don't want to act like it's an easy fix either, but it's a fix that should have been done because selling games that run this poorly just doesn't feel the greatest. I was actually really interested in trying these Game Gear games out, because like I said, I've never played most of these games before. And even if some are known to be bad games, like Sonic Labyrinth and Sonic Blast, I was still looking forward to giving them a try. But I don't think I'll ever be playing these games again unless they receive substantial improvements, which is a shame since I was looking forward to some of these games. So, all in all, do not buy Sonic Origins Plus if you were wanting to play these old Game Gear games. And if you want any of the other features this DLC provides, maybe get it half off, since half of this DLC is borderline unplayable. I do think on paper this DLC adds a lot, and for only $10 extra, getting 12 more games could have been a great deal, but the implementation is so bad here that really all you're paying that money for is to be able to use Amy Rose in the base games, which as I said before is a genuinely good part of this DLC, and something that I think is an enjoyable addition, but for being the only enjoyable addition, I can't really recommend getting this DLC for any reason other than that. Maybe with time, Sonic Origins Plus could end up being worth it for full price. But so far on launch, Sonic Origins Plus really doesn't give you anything that you would actually want to play that the base game doesn't already have. Well, I hope you enjoyed this more ranty sort of style review for Sonic Origins Plus. I'm literally recording this the day it came out and right after I got done playing everything that I wanted to. So there may have been a thing or two that I missed, but I think it covered every major addition this DLC brought with it. And also, like I said, Knuckles is unplayable for me in Sonic CD, and Amy outside of Sonic 3 is also unplayable for me, so hopefully that gets fixed soon, because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get any footage of Amy at all. And I'm sure those that are actually really wanting to play through each game as Amy are also disappointed if they have this issue. Anyways, thanks for watching, consider liking and subscribing, you know the usual. Leave a comment on what you think of Sonic Origins Plus, and whether or not you'd recommend it at all. I wish this DLC could have been better, but who knows, things could turn around in the future if it's ever updated at all. I just wish it was working and good on launch rather than waiting for potential updates that might not ever happen. But regardless, thanks again, and I'll see you next time.